Hi, I'm Heba, and welcome to Yoga with Heba. Today we are going to be practicing inversions and arm balances. And I know what you're thinking. They are really hard. I agree. I am at the beginning of my practice, and so I'm really trying to have compassion with myself. I'm trying to be patient, and I'm taking baby steps. I'd like to read a quote to you by Iyengar and what he thinks about inversions. The regular and precise practice of Sirsasana or headstand develops the body, disciplines the mind, and widens the horizon of the spirit. One becomes balanced and self-reliant in pain and pleasure, loss and gain, shame and fame, defeat and victory. So there are a lot of benefits to practicing inversions and arm balances. Inversions are thought to release tension, reduce pain and swelling in the lower limbs, increase circulation and energy, guide energy towards the heart, and help you become more connected to the earth. It is also thought to calm the mind and the spirit. So there are a lot of wonderful benefits to practicing inversions. The benefits of arm balances include toning and lifting the whole body, strengthening the body to protect shoulder joints, boosting pranayama or breath flow, balancing the mind, body, and spirit, and encouraging self-esteem, self-worth, and self-confidence. So I'm really focusing on this self-confidence part because I'm at the beginning of my practice. And of course, in the beginning, you think to yourself, oh, I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to do Bakasana or crow pose. And yes, it is really hard, but the key here is mindset. It's really important to boost that self-confidence so that you are able to encourage yourself to take baby steps to those harder poses, such as crow pose, headstand, or handstand. And so throughout my video, I show you the baby steps, the beginner steps to these poses, and I include a lot of modifications. I also include easier inversions so that you can get all the benefits without all the challenges of the harder inversions. So give yourself permission to come and meet me on the mat. Let's get started. Let's begin in mountain pose, Tadasana. Ground down your feet, engage your thighs, engage your core, draw your shoulders down, and connect with your breath. Use your Ujjayi breath in through your nose and out through your nose for 3 counts. Give yourself permission to get down on all fours, practicing cat-cow, Biddalasana or Vittalasana to create some heat or tapas. The tops of your feet should be flat on the floor, hip distance apart with a neutral spine. Engage your thighs, your core, arms aligned with your shoulder. Inhale and lift your tailbone. Reach the heart up. Exhale, round the spine, tilt your tailbone down. Drop your head for 5 counts. Now let's prepare for Adho Muhka Svanasana, or downward dog. Curl your toes under and place your hands under your shoulders with distance apart, spreading your fingers wide. Exhale, engage the legs and reach the hips up and back to lengthen the spine. Draw the heels down towards the mat. Keep your head in line with your spine. Continue breathing for 10 counts and begin to walk the dog. Stretching out your hamstrings, stretching out your calves. Come down to all fours and transition into child's pose, Bakasana. Bring your big toes to touch, take knees wide or together, sit hips back towards your heel, extend your arms forward and rest the forehead on the floor or a block. Stay in this pose for 5 to 7 breaths. Slowly walk back up into Hero's Pose or Virasana, sitting back on your heels, and connect with your breath for 3 to 5 counts. Coming back into Tadasana or mountain pose, we are going to connect back to our breath for 3 counts. Give yourself permission to walk your hands out into plank, and then lift your hips up, grounding down your feet hip distance apart, hands, shoulders distance apart, head in line with your spine. You should feel like you're in a triangle. Stay in this pose for 5 to 7 breaths and prepare for 3-legged dog. Try to push your heels down to the mat, stretching your calves and your hamstrings, your ankles. Slowly lift your left leg as to the height that you're comfortable with, keeping your hips square. Stay in this pose for 3 breaths. When you're ready, you're going to bend your knee into your chest and bring your leg down, back into downward dog, and then onto all fours again. Connect with your breath. Come into child's pose. Another great inversion that doesn't put too much pressure on your body. Stay here for 3 breaths, or longer if you'd like. Slowly come back into Hero's Pose, taking a minute to bring yourself back together to try 3-legged dog with the next leg. From mountain pose, grounding our feet down, engaging our thighs, drawing your shoulder blades down, chin parallel to the floor. Take a few deep breaths here. Give yourself permission to come back down into plank, and then back into downward dog. Make sure to lift your hips up into the air and your spine is in line with your head. Your hands are on the mat in line with your shoulders. Pedal your feet to increase the stretch in your hamstrings and your calves. And when you're ready, bring your right leg to a height that you're comfortable with, making sure the hips are still square. Try not to turn your hip outward. This gives you an idea of the kind of pressure that should be on your hands for a handstand, which eventually we will try and get into. Bend your knee inward and bring your foot down, then come down onto all fours, back with a neutral spine. Take a few breaths here. And back into child's pose for a restorative breath. Even though these are less challenging inversions, they still will help with your circulation and release of stress, especially child's pose. Stay in child's pose for 5 to 7 breaths. Slowly come back into hero's pose, connecting back with your breath, taking a minute to understand where you are and where you're going. To help us practice forearm stand, Dolphin Pose is a great place to start. So from Tadasana, we're going to ground down our feet hip distance apart, engage our thighs, engage our core, draw our shoulder blades down. Take a few deep breaths here to connect back to our breath as we prepare for Dolphin Pose or Couture Sarvangasana. Come down onto all fours with a neutral spine. Sit back onto Virasana or Hero's Pose. Fold your arms together so you know the place of your forearms. Bring your forearms down. Start to feel the weight that you should have on your forearms, bringing your body forward, leaning onto your forearms, bringing it back. Stretching out your arms, preparing, but keeping the integrity of the place where your arms are. Otherwise, you'll have a challenging time completing this pose. Great way to keep the integrity is by folding your arms together. Placing your forearms, leaning forward, feeling the weight of your body on your forearms, because this is where you will be supporting yourself. Now curl your toes under, continuing to move back and forth to feel the distribution of the weight on your forearms. When you're ready, lift your hips into the air, leaning all the weight on your forearms and not on your toes. Dolphin Pose is a great place to start to feel the pressure that you should feel on your forearms. Bring yourself back into Child's Pose, releasing the pressure from your forearms. Slowly walk back into Hero's Pose, connecting to your breath. I like to do shoulder twists to open up my shoulders, especially with these inversions where you're putting a lot of pressure on your upper body. Stand hip distance apart and point to one side of your arm and pivot your foot in that direction. Twist your hip into the other direction, making sure to twist your arms and your shoulders to release any tension or stress that you feel. Do this for 5 to 7 counts. And when you're ready, meet me in Hero's Pose. Remember to fold your arms so that you understand where your forearms should be on the mat. Make sure to always connect to your breath. Bring yourself down onto the mat, releasing your arms in the correct position, leaning forward and leaning back to feel the distribution of the weight. Curl your feet under, and when you are ready, lift your hips up into the sky, aligning your spine and your head together. Some people feel more comfortable looking forward because this will help them keep balance. Keep yourself in Dolphin Pose for 3 counts. Slowly bring yourself down, back into a neutral spine, connecting back with your breath. Let's try again, lifting your hip up for 3 counts or 3 breaths. Slowly bring yourself down to a neutral spine, connecting back with your breath on all fours. And let's try again for 3 counts. Slowly bring yourself back down and back up to Hero's Pose. I'm going to try this again using blocks to help support the pressure that I feel in my forearms, because these poses, these inversions, are very challenging. From Hero's Pose, I'm going to fold my arms together to keep the integrity of the pose. Bring myself down onto the blocks. Curl my toes under and lift your hips up into the sky. The blocks definitely help to alleviate some of the pressure, although this pose is very challenging. Slowly bring yourself down, back into Child's Pose. using the blocks to allow for a deeper stretch in your arms. Stay here for 3 to 5 breaths. When you're ready, slowly bring yourself back up into Hero's Pose. I'm in Hero Pose, connecting back to my breath and preparing to attempt a headstand or a Pincha Mayurasana. So from Hero's Pose, fold your arms and come down. Spread your hands wide, move your body forward and back to get a sense of the weight that will be on your forearms. Clasp your hands together to hold the back of your head. After about 3 to 5 counts of shifting your weight, you're going to clasp your hands together in front of you, making sure to keep the integrity of the position of your forearms. It's very important to stabilize yourself. Bring the top of your crown down to the mat, making sure not to put pressure on the top of your head. All the pressure should really be in your arms. Try to walk your knees in towards your chest. This will help you get closer in line with your spine and your head. When you are ready, curl your toes under and lift your hips up into the sky, making sure to keep your shoulders in line with your spine in line with your crown. Try your best to create a straight line between your crown and your spine. Hold this position for at least 3 to 5 counts. Slowly bring your knees down. Let's try again. Bring your crown down gently to the mat. Curl your toes under and bring your hips up into the sky for 2 to 3 counts. Bringing yourself back into a child pose position. Let's try a third time. Lift your hips up into the sky. And slowly bring yourself back down into child's pose. Let's try one more time. Lifting your hips up into the sky. And if you can, we're going to try Pincha Mayurasana one more time. This time we're going to try and lift one leg back into child's pose. From Hero's Pose, fold your arms back into Hero's Pose. And come down. Spread your hands wide, connecting back to your breath. And move your body back and forth to get a sense of the weight on your forearms. Bring your knees in and lift your hips up. Try lifting one leg, bringing it down, lifting the other leg, bringing it down. Try this for 3 counts. And then slowly bring yourself back down into easy pose or child's pose. Connecting back to your breath. Slowly walk your hands back into hero's pose. Stretching the back of your head. Connecting back with your breath. Let's try again from the top. Fold your arms together. Bring yourself down to the mat. Clasp your hands together. Bring the top of your crown to the top of the mat. Inside your hands, curl your toes under and lift your hips up into the sky. Try your best to walk your knees in before you do this. And see if you can walk your toes in towards your body to align your spine with your head. It's very challenging. Slowly bring yourself down into child's pose and slowly bring yourself up into hero's pose, connecting back with your breath. Now we're going to try L-shaped handstand or Adho Muhka Svanasana prep. So I'm still not able to do a headstand, as you just saw, or a handstand, but these poses will help to prepare your body, so that eventually, through practice, you'll be able to get to those poses. Bring your hands to the floor in line with your shoulders and lift your hips up. Try to bring your left foot up first and press into your hands. Feel the pressure that will be going into your hands. Try again with your left and then with your right foot, just so that you can feel how the pressure will be on your hands. Let's try again. Bringing your hands down to the mat, lifting your hips up. Bring your right foot up to the wall, pressing down on your hands. Slowly bring it down. Bring your left foot up to the wall. And slowly bring that down, and then bring yourself back into hero's pose. It's very important to be persistent when trying these poses. Do not give up on yourself. We all start from a different place, but we can all end up in the same place if we try hard enough. Bringing your hands down again and lifting your hips. Try lifting one foot at a time to the wall and slowly bring yourself down. Connecting back with your breath. Having compassion for yourself for trying something new. Let's take a restorative rest with our legs up the wall. Lying on our back. Allowing circulation to flow freely through our body. From here, we're going to try supported shoulder stand. Bend your knees and lift your hips up into the air, bringing your feet up into the sky, supporting your lower back with your hands. Try to straighten your leg, put it in line with your hips and your spine. It's very challenging, as you can see, as I try to get into that pose. But try your best here, inhaling and exhaling. Slowly lower your legs behind your head for plow pose or Halasana. Try to reach the floor here, connecting to your breath if you can. Slowly bend your knees back towards the floor, and let's go into fish pose for a counter pose to Halasana. Straighten out your legs in front of you, bring your elbows down to the mat, making sure they're in front of your shoulders. Bring the top of your head down to the mat, opening up your heart chakra, taking in that fresh air, and finding peace in this pose. Connecting with your breath. Lower back down into supine. Give yourself permission to try Bakasana or a crow pose. Stand with feet hip distance apart. Engage your thighs and your core. Draw your shoulder blades down. Chin parallel to the floor. Rise onto your tippy toes and slowly lower down into a deep squat. Placing your hands flat on the mat, lift the hips towards the sky and try to lift each foot as you look ahead of you, leaning your legs into your armpits or your arms. My arms happen to be a bit longer, so in a bit I'll try with the blocks to create some length in my legs. Let's try this again. Slowly lower down and bring your hands flat to the mat, raising your hip up. Try to raise one foot at a time. Oh, and I just had it for a split second. If your wrists begin to hurt you, it's great to really stretch out your wrists, bringing them in the opposite direction of the pose that you were just in, to release some tension. Using your other hand to push to release the tension from your wrists. Sometimes people get a bit fearful that they're going to fall, so you can use some blankets to place where your head might land in crow pose if you were to fall. Again, grounding down your feet, engaging your thighs and your core, drawing your shoulder blades down. Slowly come down into a deep squat, raising your toes onto your tippy toes, bringing your hands flat onto the mat. Try to bring your knees into your armpits. Raise your hips up, looking forward. Lift one foot, hold that for a minute, and try to lift the other foot without losing your balance. Let's try the blocks now. So I'm going to stand on 2 blocks just to create some height for myself. Sometimes it's even harder to balance yourself on the blocks. So again, make sure of your integrity. Slowly lower yourself down. So here I'm able to actually bring my hips up higher, hands flat on the mat, and bring one foot up at a time if you can. Sometimes it's good just to hold the pose with one foot in the air. Again, persistence is key. You have to continue trying and not give up on yourself, and also have compassion for yourself. Let's try again. Lower into a deep squat, hands flat onto the floor, and lift your hips up. Slowly bring one foot up at a time. And because I'm persistent, I'm going to try crow pose one more time. It's really hot here at the sands today, so make sure to wipe off any sweat from your arms so that you don't slip in the pose, because that could be very dangerous. Standing on the blocks again, balancing myself, feet hip distance apart, thighs are engaged, core is engaged. Slowly come down into a deep squat, bringing your hands flat onto the mat. Bring your knees into your arms, rising your hips up into the sky. Lift one foot and then lift another. And I got it for a split second. Can't wait to be able to hold this pose for longer than a second. Now let's go into supported shoulder stand, using a modification with legs up the wall. Get to the wall, as close to the wall as possible, bringing your legs up onto the wall, hands onto the floor. And from here, bend one knee and then bend another knee, raising your hips up, supporting your lower back with your hands. Straighten your legs out, feet flat onto the wall. Bend one knee in towards your chest, then bend the other knee in towards your chest, and then try to use the support of the wall to build momentum to bring your legs up into the sky, supporting your lower back with your hands. And from here, slowly lower yourself down into Halasana or plow pose, bringing your feet behind your head, bringing your arms down onto the mat, supporting your lower back. Bring your legs back up, bending your knees, using the wall for support. Take a minute here with legs up the wall, connecting back to your breath. And let's go into fish pose. My knees are bent here for a second. Bringing my head the crown of my head to the mat, making sure my elbows are in front of my shoulders, opening up my heart chakra, taking in that deep breath, connecting back to my breath, having compassion for myself. I want to stretch my legs out a bit though, to move the towels out of the way. Go back down into fish pose, bring the crown of my head down into the mat, and making sure my elbows are in front of my shoulders. Stay in this pose for 3 to 5 breaths. And then slowly lower yourself down into supine in a constructive rest. Stay here for 3 to 5 breaths. Remember to always have compassion for yourself. Also, don't give up on yourself. Continue to persist with your practice, and you'll see great change. From here, we're going to go into legs up the wall to relax from all those poses that we just did. So start by shimmying your hips as close to the wall as possible. Walk your feet up the wall until your body's in somewhat of an L-shaped position. Make any adjustments that you may need to facilitate a more relaxing space. Maybe you may need to place a pillow under your head or under your hips. Make sure to let your arms rest out to the sides or on your belly, whatever feels better for you. And focus on your breath. Try to deepen your breath. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your nose, and try to stay in this pose. It's a restorative pose that has so many benefits. While you're resting in this pose for, if you can, up to 10 minutes, I'd just like to tell you some of the benefits of this pose. So first, it's going to relax the mind and the body. It's a great way to calm your nerves and make you feel better. You're going to be able to relax deeply, release any anxiety and tension, come back into balance. You're increasing circulation, especially if you get swelling in the legs and feet, reversing the gravity on your lower body will help. It soothes muscle cramps. It's the best way to help drain tension and soothe swollen or cramped legs and feet. If you'd like to, you can even flex and point your feet to increase that circulation. Stretches the hamstrings and the glutes. It relieves lower back tension, eases headaches and migraines, improves digestion, improves sleep, helps to quiet the mind, and gives you all the benefits of inversions without any of the effort, which is really my favorite part. I want to do a deeper stretch for my legs after all those poses. So bring your right leg out to an angle and just leave it there for a minute, just releasing any tension you might have. Slowly bring it back up to center and bring your left leg out, releasing any tension you might have. Take a few breaths here. Slowly bring it back up to center. Now open up both legs like in a straddle position, making sure not to stretch too deep. You don't want to injure your groin. Take a few deep breaths here, enjoying the posture and all the benefits that it gives you. Back to center, and just stay here, enjoying the rest and relaxation. If you want to join me in stretching the legs from right to left, you may, whatever you feel comfortable doing. Always listening to your body and its needs is really the most important thing here.
Thank you for joining me on this journey. This is Heba from Yoga with Heba, enjoying these deep stretches in legs up the wall, or Viparita Karani. I hope to see you on the next video, and please enjoy the rest of your day.